Auspicious greetings, everyone. It's good to have you back. But today I'm going to pre-record the discussion. As here in San Diego, we're going to have a mindful outdoor walking or hiking. So to begin, let me share with my slides with everyone. So today we're going to discuss about life is like driving a car. So before our discussion for today, we're going to do a short meditation first. So let us make sure that we're sitting upright, both feet flat on the floor. If you have glasses, let us go ahead and remove them. Place our hands on our knees or gently making meditation gesture and rest our hands on our legs. Slightly tucking our chin. If we feel comfortable with our eyes fully closed, please go ahead and close our eyes. If not, we can look downward 45 degrees in front of ourselves. Let us just give ourselves a brief moment to gather our thoughts and temporarily put aside whatever that we haven't done and just focus on each breath that we take. Breathing in, fully aware that I'm breathing in. Breathing out, and fully aware that I'm breathing out. Now let us start with our meditation. And now let us slowly take in 3 deep breaths, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in again, breathing out. Let us gently rub our palms together as we slowly open our eyes. Cover our palms on our eyes, the top of our head, over our ears, the back of our neck. Let's gently rub our palms together. And to massage our shoulders, arms, all the way to our fingers and wrists. You can also massage your back. Okay, so for today, we're going to talk about what Verbal Master Xing Yun has written, the article on life is like driving a car. And before that, let us have a quick recap of what we discussed last week. We talked about life through the mirror. So every day we wake up in the morning, some of us will look into a mirror, some of us won't. But throughout the days, we try to look at ourselves in the mirror from time to time to make sure that whether we're presentable or not. But when it comes to life, smart people correct their faults through the mistakes of others. And wise people enrich their experiences through the experiences of others. So we see other as well as ourselves like a mirror, is a reflection, and also within our mind, and contemplating on our thoughts and learning from others. So among the 4 points we talk about is demeaning others is demeaning ourselves, respecting others is respecting ourselves, and to be considerate and forgive others is also to be considerate of ourselves, and fulfilling others is fulfilling ourselves. With the 4 points that Verbal Master has shared with us, is a reflection of the mirror. If we were to do something unto others, it will reflect upon ourselves. So if we are very respectful towards others, of course, that will also reflect it onto ourselves. The same goes to being forgiving, considerate, and also like when there's success in achievements in others, we try to celebrate together. We try to learn from others. So life through the mirror is a constant reminder for ourselves in our everyday life, in how we conduct ourselves, how we live this life together with the community around us. So for today, when we talk about life is like driving a car. So when we are driving the car, so constantly we're being mindful of what is in front, what is going on the side, and from time to time, we will look at the rear mirror and see if there's any cars. Try to be mindful of our surroundings. So when it comes to life, it's like driving a car. We are in the driver's seat. Okay, we are driving the car. So we might come across roadblocks, different weather conditions on the road. And of course, like if you're traveling together with your family or friends, sometimes there's even just ourselves. From time to time, there'll be like changes in the plans. We might be going to the temple, all of a sudden something changed, forgot to take the bag, forgot to take the notebook, forgot to take the whatever that needs to be taken. We will just need to turn around and get the things that we need, and then we go forward. Or sometimes when we're stuck in the traffic, nowadays with the navigation, whether it is the Apple Map or Google Map, there's a constant recommendation of a shorter route that saves us time. But with all this going on and happening, we learn how to adapt and move forward. And not only that, Verbal Master Zang Yun also reminded us that in order to live safely in this world, our conduct must be lawful and orderly like cars, having to observe the traffic regulations on the road. When we see a stoplight, we stopped. When we see a stop sign, we have to stop and let the pedestrian pass through, and so on and so forth. And whenever there's ambulance or fire truck, we need to make way for others. So when it comes to life, it's like driving a car. Verbal Master has shared with us a few points as a guidelines and also guidance in our everyday life. The first one in the article mentioned that to avoid speeding, we must observe proper speed limits. So if we are not vigilant and do not respect our own limits, it would be as dangerous as exceeding the speed limit on the road. Okay. When we abide by proper limits, we can ensure a happy and safe life. So imagine on the freeway, I'm not sure about other places, but here in California, the speed limit on the freeway is 65 miles per hour. So of course, sometimes when driving a car, one might go a little bit more or less depending on the traffic, but we still abide with the required speed limit, which is 65. So when we abide with the proper limits, we just make sure that we're not speeding. When we're not speeding, we ensure the safety not only of ourselves, but also others. It is because we're on the road, we're not just by ourselves. There are other cars, trucks, vehicles on the road. So to avoid speeding, we must observe proper speed limits. But besides on the road, besides driving, how about our life? So one of the common observation that I've seen here, and of course that on the news, sometimes like when a person experiences like too much stress or ups and downs in life, a person might not be able to handle whatever stress in a proper way. So the shortcut that one usually opt for is alcohol or drugs. So this is very similar with like speeding on the road. With a certain amount, according to the scientists and doctors, it might be healthy for one's health if one were to take it as medicine. And but however, sometimes a person after drinking for some time, one might be addicted to alcohol. So even around the corner of the temple, from time to time, there's an AA meeting, of course, helping those who recover from the alcohol addiction and try to be sober for some time, so that one can get back to the normal life. So one example that I would like to share with everyone, I believe that everyone has read the news, heard the news of Matthew Perry, who recently passed away. Okay, so he was a very famous actor in France, and of course, that over his lives, he also have experienced a lot of stress and ups and downs. And then towards when he passed away, I saw like news about his reporting his memoir. In the news reporting, Matthew Perry once stated that he had spent probably about 9 million or something trying to get sober. And he revealed this back in like 2022 in his autobiography. Okay, so in his Friends, Lovers, and Big Trouble Things, a memoir that mentioned that he attended 6,000 Alcoholic Anonymous meeting and entered rehab for 15 times. So that is quite a lot. But the journey started when he was involved in a ski accident back in 1997, where he was given a prescription of medication, a certain drug. And eventually he got addicted with the drugs that were given, and then it grew from there onwards. But to shorten whatever that I would like to share with everyone is towards his last words. He said that when I die, I don't want friends to be the first thing that mentioned. He added, I want the helping other addicts to be the first thing that's mentioned. I'm going to live the rest of my life proving that. So Matthew actually helped many people who experience alcoholic addiction to recover and be sober. So he shared his experience. He shared his journey in how he overcome alcoholism. And of course, like eventually he managed to do that, and he became sober for many years. So he would like every one of us to remember that instead of like his acting his actor performances in France. So this is just a reminder that sometimes like speeding is a constant reminder of our life. It might be easy, like you just overstep the gas and then you just zoom very fast. But of course, the same goes to everything that we do every day, whether it is alcohol, whether it's drugs, whether it's cigarettes, whether it is something like watching or playing video games. There are many things, if we are not mindful, we might overstep the gas pedal and we'll be just like speeding on the road. Okay, so we just try to remind ourselves, we try to avoid speeding, and we must observe the proper speed limits. The same goes to our everyday life, that we have to practice what the Buddha reminded us, the middle path, or the middle way. Whatever that we practice, whether it is very good or not, we just have to balance our lifestyle. Okay, even though it's very good, we just have to balance, not overdoing it, is to avoid speeding. And of course, like we enjoy our life one slice at a time. Okay, so when we enjoy our lives, so sometimes like if we are in a situation where we are overwhelmed with many things that happen, but always take one thing at a time. No matter how many things, how many tasks that we need to do, we can always start from one. So instead of like doing one thing at a time, I found this picture, which is a very good reminder also. No matter how good the things is, the pizza is, or the food is, or whatever that we experience, we can only enjoy life one slice at a time. We can only focus on one thing at a time. So we try our best, do what we can, always remind ourselves to practice the middle path, not overspeeding, and enjoy life one slice at a time. So the second point that Verbal Master Xing Yun would like to share with us as a reminder, life is like driving a car, is to give pedestrians the right of way. Drivers must yield. So the world is peaceful, for the virtues are deeply respectful. This is from the Doctrine of the Mean. So if everyone can yield to each other, there will be no conflicts. So thus, yielding can ensure a peaceful life that is stable and harmonious. So when it comes to yielding, recently I just got back from Taiwan, and then I was amazed by the little green man on the traffic light, the pedestrian walk light. So in this time, not only we saw the little green man when it is green for the pedestrian to cross the road. The last time when I visited Taiwan, the little green man walk very gracefully, but as the time is getting shorter and shorter for the pedestrian to cross, the little green man started like kind of like fasten the footsteps, the pace. And then I always joke that the moment right before it turned red, he would need to jump. The little green man would jump. For this time when I visited Taiwan, I saw this very meaningful green man. Not only a green man, no, they have a family with parents holding the little ones crossing the street. And but the focus is not here. But it just reminds me of like when crossing the road, there are many cars, scooters, especially in Taiwan. Nowadays, they give pedestrians the right of way. Of course, like here in California or in the United States, we always give pedestrian. The drivers always yield to the pedestrians. Okay, but not only talking about pedestrians, not only talking about road, but look at today's world. Last week we talked about there are many happenings. There's a lot of conflicts. That might be a lot of like aggression that is going on today. And one historical incident that I would like to bring it up. I'm not sure if anyone remembers the Cuban Missile Crisis back in the Cold War, 1962. There's a lot of like tension between the United States and the Soviet Union. The tension is so great that it's dangerously close to a nuclear conflict. And of course, like it started when the United States discovered that the Soviet Union was placing nuclear missiles in Cuba, and which could potentially reach American cities. If you look at the small map here, it shows that Cuba is just down below Florida, which is very close to the United States. But of course, like to shorten the history, I believe some of you already know the details. I won't want to go into it, but I just want to highlight that how both President Kennedy of the United States and the Premier Nikita Khrushchev of the Soviet Union, how they realized the catastrophic consequences if they were to not yield on either side. This will be a disaster. It will be the start of another war. Okay, but through diplomatic negotiations, a lot of like talking and negotiation going on, and eventually both countries are willing to compromise where they come across different consensus that Kennedy agreed not to invade Cuba, and of course, like giving assurances that U.S. will remove missiles from Turkey, while Khrushchev agreed to remove the Soviet missiles from Cuba. And because of the willingness of both superpowers in yielding to some extent to find a compromise agreement that leads to a very peaceful solution from this crisis. Okay, so it is always a pivotal moment where diplomacy and compromise is very important to prevent any possible conflicts that happen. So it's just like, especially in a global scale, whenever there's a conflict, it's not just between two individuals. It involves more than that. Not only an individual, it affects the family, it affects the society, it affects the community, it affects the nation, it affects the whole world. It is because we are interconnected in so many different ways. So if we are unable to yield to each other, most of the time, both parties will be harmed by not yielding. Just like on the road, if a driver doesn't yield to a pedestrian, what will happen? The same goes to in the traffic, in a very after work peak hours. I know like some of us will like change lane, cut each other, but we try to yield each other when driving, so that we can make sure everyone's safe on the road. Because it won't make much difference. The only difference will be like a few seconds or a few minutes different. But then if we were to look at the bigger picture, that we can eventually learn how to yield among each other and be respectful towards each other. So that will be we'll be able to avoid any possible conflicts that might happen. Okay. So the third point that I would like to share with you, which is on the article, is to stop at real road crossings. We must have patience when dealing with circumstances. Okay. The Confucius once said, failure to forbear in small matters spoils great undertakings. Okay. Small matters. Okay. A moment of patience may bring longevity to our lives. It can also be a source of accumulating strength. Okay, so when Confucius mentioned about failure to forbear in small matters spoil great undertakings, okay, so Confucius emphasized on the importance of paying attention to the small details. Okay, the details of our actions and behaviors. Even though it might seem like it's a minor matters, but they have significant impact on a larger endeavors and the overall moral and ethical development of an individual. So it might be a small thing that happened, but it adds up. Okay, it represents a person's personality. It represents us in so many ways, and not only our behavior, but also in our lives. There are many small matters that we have to be mindful of. Okay, and another real life examples that I would like to share with you is some of you might know that the Space Shuttle Challenger disasters back in 1986. So it happened back in January 28, where the Space Shuttle Challenger tragically disintegrated 73 seconds after liftoff, and resulting in the death of all 7 crew members. So this disaster was a result of a catastrophic failure in small matters and a failure to forbear from launching the shuttle under unsafe conditions. So the engineers who were working on the Challenger project, they had raised concerns about the effects of the low temperatures on the O-rings, which were a crucial component of the shuttle's solid rocket boosters. Okay, so to whoever that made the decision of the launching, they might look at it as a very small and significant thing, component which is in the shuttle. Okay, but despite this concern, okay, of course the top have like receive immense pressure to proceed with the launch, including political and public relations pressures. Okay, so because of that, because of many other reasons, okay, the failure to forbear from launching the shuttle due to concern about the O-rings performance in the cold weather led to this catastrophic outcome. Okay, so it could be just a small component, just the O-rings. Okay, but then it results in the losing of 7 human lives. Okay, not only that, the whole shuttle were disintegrated in thin air. So this highlight how important it is, even though it is just a small component of a bigger thing. Okay, but it is crucial. So another related incident that mentioned is also related to the space shuttle. So sometimes when we watch the news or some of the documentary, we might hear the distress call, Houston, we got a problem. Okay, so usually this is not a good sign, especially on the space shuttle that you're in the space. So this happened back in 1970, the Apollo 13 mission today is part of the history as it is known as a successful failure. It is not the small matter that has gone off, but it is part of the uh, shuttle thing that it just happened. The service module exploded and causing the spacecraft to lose electrical power, but power, not only power, water, and oxygen. And there were the 3 astronauts on board. But what I would like to share with everyone about this incident is because of the clear and precise communication between Houston and the astronauts. They managed to use a backup system to as a life support system to give them water, oxygen, and power. They instead of like they land on the moon, eventually they go around the moon and they use the backup power, the backup system to support all the 3 astronauts to return back on Earth. Okay, but because of all the details that Houston on the ground that give them a very detailed instructions of how to do, what to do next, how to check the equipment, how to receive and change some of the system to support their life, and all this, and also the navigation of the spacecraft with a very limited power, how it can ensure and help the 3 astronauts to re-enter the Earth atmosphere at the right angle and speed. So all these are all the small details and small matters that involve in a space shuttle that help and enable them to return home safely. So without the calm and clear instructions, and also especially the 3 astronauts, imagine like being in outer space and things just happen. So most of us was like start panicking. But if we just like the 3 astronauts, they remain calm, they listen carefully to every single instructions, and because of course they are all professionals, they learn and train how to handle similar accident that might happen on outer space. But because of all the small causes and conditions that they put into the right place, that help them to return home safely. And another examples that I came across not too long ago when we went to for a hike by Point Loma. So walking on the trail road, I saw this amazing cobweb that were like made like between the leaves, the grass, the flowers, and because there were like a little bit of dew from the air because it's by the ocean. And that day, I believe it was like a little bit cloudy, but there are so many water drops. And I was so amazed of all the tiny details that I'm seeing right here. So, of course, like the spider did a very good job in making the cobweb. And look at all the water drops that is on the cobweb. Imagine if one of the small string is not there, it won't be able to hold that tiny drop of water. Okay, so it reminds me that in our everyday life, everything that we do, even though it might seem to be very small, okay, but we might be only looking at one small details, but it is actually a part of the important bigger picture that we are in. Imagine like in where you are, in a city, in a home. Okay, every action, if we can be mindful at all times, like of course, like for example, if you see someone who need help, who needs help, and saying hi to each other, we are actually sending out positive, vibrant to our neighbors. We might not know them, but with a smile, with a greet, we're actually adding positivity into the society. Okay, it might just be a very small thing, small matter. Okay, but we just like this image, for it to be so beautiful and calm, it needs the cobweb, it needs all the tiny drops of water to be together to present this photo, to present this beautiful image within our mind. The same goes to every day. We save water when we're washing, we turn off lights when we're not using. All these tiny small matters, it adds up. When you want to go out, if you can walk, we walk. If you can opt for bicycling, we bicycle instead of just hopping on into our car. Of course, nowadays we have electric car. But what I'm trying to say is every decision that we make, it will have an impact not only to our lives, individual lives, but to the environment, to the nature, to the things that we're in, the places that we're in. Everything are interconnected. That's why the small matters are very, very important. It might be small, but always remember it is part of the bigger picture that we're in. Okay? So the fourth point that Verbal Master has mentioned is to not run a red light. We must have restraint. Okay. So when I read this paragraph, it reminds me of like on the road. Sometimes it's to not run a yellow light. We must restrain. When we see a yellow light, we ask ourselves, should I hit gas or brakes? Gas or brakes? Okay. But then again, always remind ourselves when we see the yellow light, it's time for us to prepare to stop. Okay. So in the article, Purple Monster mentioned some people will knowingly risk the danger of running a red light. Okay. They are like people who willfully disregard the traps of sensual pleasures and deliberately indulge themselves and becoming helpless and slaves to materialism. Okay, so this happens a lot, especially around us. There are people knowingly that this thing might result in addiction. It results in a not so good effect. Sometimes people still knowingly risk the danger in doing so. Like if we know how to exercise restraint and also not only restraint, I would say that awareness or being mindful, okay, and not aggressively seek a foolish and risky lifestyle, we will surely have a safe and happy life. Okay, and the reason why Verbal Monster used the word restrain is because sometimes that's a lot of like restraint in the first place that one needs to practice first. And then of course that when it comes to restraint, being mindful, it always relates to what we mentioned about precepts. Okay, the precepts that we uphold. So one of the stories that I'm not sure if you still remember, that there was a guy who thought of like drinking, and then usually, not usually, but based on the story, it says that the guy wanted to have something to go with the drinking. So he thought about like having some chicken. So this was back in those days. It's not today. Today you might just go to the shop. Okay. So imagine like let me change a little bit the story based on today's world. Okay. A guy was thinking of like drinking and then he wanted to something to go with it and he doesn't have money. Okay. So eventually he went to the store, knowing that the owner is not looking, and then he quickly put something in his pocket, and tried to walk out of the store. And of course, the owner of the store noticed that, and then say, "Hey, you, what do you have in your pocket?" And of course, like the guy eventually lied to the owner and said, I don't have anything in my pocket. It's just me. Okay. And of course, not only that, this owner was being very suspicious of what is going on, and then tried to stop the guy and started like having struggle and so on and so forth. And that is the end of the story. And it's very similar with the story that Verbal Monster has mentioned before, where a person, because of thinking of drinking, eventually not only broke the precepts of intoxicants, and eventually a person starts stealing because of one's desire, and because of stealing, and when being asked, one lied, and when one lied, started struggling and harming others with a physical, it could be fight and so on and so forth. And eventually, we of that guy, the person, because of drinking, has broken the precepts of like stealing, lying, killing, and harming others, and so on and so forth. Okay, so this highlight that it is very important for us. Sometimes, when there's a desire that arises, okay, within our mind, we have to understand the causes and conditions that give rise to it. And we try to, sometimes we have to put a break first. The break is what Verbal Master mentioned about exercise restraint, because sometimes of like the lifelong habit that we cultivated, uh, without the restraint, we would just do it unknowingly, based on going with our habitual tendencies and so on and so forth. So we have to always remind ourselves constantly and reminding ourselves not to run to a red light, meaning that we just try to be aware of what is the boundaries, what are the things that if we were to do it, we will be harming others. Okay. And not only that, we always remember the power of habit. If we were to do it once, there's always a tendency of repeating ourselves again and again and again. Okay, so we have to remind ourselves to not run a red light. We must have restraint and always remind ourselves the importance of upholding the precepts. And the fifth point that Verbal Monster shared is not to honk unnecessarily. We must be reticent. I'm not sure if I pronounced the word correctly, but you can correct me if behind the scene. Yeah. Okay. So good drivers never honk unnecessarily. They can remain calm under any circumstances and navigate their way through the traffic by maintaining the right speed and distance. Okay. Like people with virtue, learning, and cultivation in lives, they know how to respond to any situation as needed. And of course, like just try our best. If there's no need to honk, if no need to speak inappropriately, we have to contemplate on the right timing, the right situation, the right person, and of course, right here is not to honk unnecessarily. So that reminds me of whenever I drive to LA, I constantly being honk all the time. When I want to turn, it could be because I'm being slow compared with others because I'm not familiar with the route, not familiar with whatever that is around me. And that also reminds me of back in 2018 when we visited India. Okay, so I was so amazed. Right here, you can still see the traffic light right in the middle. But when we visited India, Delhi, and a few main cities where the Buddha were in before, there's a constant honk, and there's no traffic lights on the street, on the road. And you can see like a huge truck, you can see many cars, you can see like a tricycle, you see like an ox cart. You can see little kids running here and there barefooted. You can see a holy cow, a white holy cow, because cow to Indians, they are very respectful of the cow. Okay, so sometimes we kind of say, oh, that is the holy. It's really very holy to them, cows walking on the street. But yeah, throughout the whole year, the accidents that happen in India, the northern India, is so minimum. And of course, there's a constant horn that you may hear from time to time. Of course, like is it in the main city? I'm not sure about the small cities, but there's a lot of honking. And even like I noticed the driver in our bus, he will have one foot on the gas pedal and the other foot on the brake pedal. It's just go gas, brake, gas, brake, gas, brake. And always being mindful of the surroundings, and not only cars, vehicles, but also the ox cart, the children play on the street. And there's a lot of focus. Of course, the honking is to ensure and to let people know that be aware, I'm coming through, and so on and so forth. But that's to someone who is not in that situation, in that condition, one might think that it is a lot of agitation. There's a lot of like frustration, eager to get to one place. Okay, but in today's in where you are, where we are, honking only when it needs to be honked, especially in areas where there's hospital, there's senior centers. We have to be even more mindful when hitting the horn. Okay, so but then to conclude, when it comes to honking, we just try to be mindful of that and always only use whenever it is necessary, but not all the time. Okay, to make sure that we have a safe distance to ensure everyone's safety. So to conclude with what we discussed today, is life is like driving a car. We need to avoid speeding, to give pedestrians the right way, to stop at railroad crossings, to not run a red light, and not to honk unnecessarily. By cultivating these qualities, we then can abide by proper limits, yield to others, patience when dealing with circumstances, and restrain from foolish acts, and be reticent, okay, and if needed, okay. So this is what River Master mentioned about life is like driving a car. Be mindful all the time, be aware of the situation that we're in, okay, and always remember all the points that we discussed today. So I have two contemplative questions for everyone to think about it, and if you feel like sharing, you're most welcome to share your thoughts, experiences in the Google Classrooms. So the first one is, how can the practice of yielding in life apply to our interactions with others? Okay. If you come across your personal experience, please share with others, because personal experience are very important and helpful to many of us. So the second one is, share on your experience in being mindful of the details that leads you to success, and to prevent unnecessary setbacks or accidents on your life's journey. Okay, so that again is a very important lessons and important experience that we might come across in our lives. So I hope that you can share that in the Google Classrooms. Okay, so announcements. We will not have class on November 11th because the temple is having the annual Medicine Buddha prayer service. And when we come back, meet again on Zoom, will be November 18th, where we will go through and discuss the article on how to view people. Okay, so last but not least, let us end our class with dedication and merit. Let us join our poems. May kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity pervade all worlds. May we cherish and build affinities to benefit all beings. May Chan, Pure Land, and precepts inspire equality and patience. May our humility and gratitude give rise to great vows. May everyone have a great week ahead and be safe and be mindful always when we talk